Growing up, I often was told that the Clatsop people are now extinct, they don't exist anymore. And I obviously, knowing I was am a Clatsop person, knew that was wrong.
Charlotte Bash is walking with her parents on the land where her ancestors used to live, along the Nehalenum River estuary in the present-day town of Seaside.
The estuary is where the Neawana, the Neacoxie, and the Nehalenum rivers all come together. It's an incredibly beautiful spot.
This is where the Clatsop Native American people signed a treaty for the right to fish and hunt indefinitely, and where nevertheless they were forced to leave.
I'm named after my great-grandmother Charlotte and my great-great-grandmother Celios, both of which lived in this community and on this land.
Charlotte and her father, Dick, are descendants of Clatsop Chief Goboy through his daughter, Celiast. Dick learned from his grandmother, Charlotte, how his ancestors used this village site before white settlement pushed them out. They didn't have a reservation to go to, so they scattered across the Northwest. Many lost track of their family lineage.
There were pieces that were able to be threaded through the generations. Of course, a lot was lost, but I am lucky enough that I know something about our family and our history.
While this peaceful stretch of undeveloped land feels remote, it's actually just a couple miles from the throngs of vacationing tourists in the bustling beach town of Seaside. On a busy street in the center of town, Dick worked with an artist to illustrate the history of his ancestors' homeland and share their story with the community.
The importance of this place was immense. The long houses here had family, neighbors right across the estuary where there was another village. This was such an important place that after our treaty was signed, that treaty included the right to fish forever here at the mouth of the Neacoxie.
But that treaty was never honored by the U.S. government, so the Clatsop never got what they were promised for giving up their land, and they still have no federal recognition.
They put up fences and no trespassing signs, and our people weren't able to go to the place they gathered, and they were arrested for trespassing. Can you imagine that? The horror that they had to endure.
Generations later, Roberta Bash found that problem persisted with the land trust that owned this property when she was denied access to gather traditional plants.
They said, no, you can't, because they were conserving some of those plants. Well, I know how to do that. My people have been doing that since time immemorial. And it's been very difficult to be told you can't be who you are. Because for us, we are not separate from the land. We are not separate from the plants. The plants keep our bodies alive. The plants keep this whole area alive. We're not separate. But we've been told by society that we have to learn how to separate ourselves from the land. That's not possible. It's just not possible to be able to do that.
Katie Volke is the executive director of the North Coast Land Conservancy. Her land trust protected the property from development and restored its tidal marsh ecosystem. She says years of hearing from tribal members like Roberta led her organization to make an historic decision.
We realized that though we have a conservation mission, our connection to this land is not and could never be as deep and important and meaningful as the connection of the Clatsop people. We realized that what we owned was one of the most important places to other people. And why would we own that when we know that those other people will care for it even more greatly than we would?
they said it was never our land, and they deeded the land back to us. That's remarkable. And because of that, we sit here today, and the circle has come all the way around. And it's going to really literally allow us to be a tribe.
How long would it take to dry something like this?
Though they had no land to call home, the Clatsop-Nehalem people never forgot their culture. Now, they finally have a place to practice it.
Because they're typically dried out.
It's dried, and then you soak it, and you work it that way. One of the things that we want to do is keep that culture alive, to teach our tribal members, to teach family, to teach those in the community.
They're making plans to build a longhouse and a museum at the site.
If you're going to call it a longhouse,
Make it a
yeah, you
longhouse.
make it a longhouse.
Yeah, I agree. Do it right. So here we are, for the first time in a very, very long time, actually owning land in our homeland. We're like, okay, now what do we do? We're thinking about our future and having a lot of discussions of like, how do you put Humpty Dumpty back together again? And so now we have this huge hope, and we're dreaming again.
With the title transfer, the tribes reclaimed about 18 acres of their ancestral homeland and launched a whole new chapter of their history.
To be able to look now and know that this is actually in tribal ownership again, it's truly indescribable. It gives you a sense of pride, I think, in resilience, knowing that our people, our community have been here literally since time immemorial, and despite everything that happened to us, we're still here in this place.